live. Ha! Let's go.
Yes.
I like your microphone, by the way. I want to get one.
Thanks.
So I'm not just holding this up like a weirdo.
It's a Yeti blue mic. I got it at Best Buy. I think they're $100 and they're
Oh my
super good. Yeah.
God.
I love this mic. I've had it for like 5 or 6 years. So it works for a long time.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah.
And like I just said, so we were talking literally right before this about nonprofit work. So you said you were in the nonprofit world. I would love to hear more about that. And second question, kind of following up to that, do you know any grant writers?
Oh, grant writers. Let's start with that first. Grant writers are needles in a haystack. If you can find a great grant writer or grant manager, you pay them every single penny that they're worth, because they're worth like mound loads of pennies, um mound loads of dollars. They're so valuable. I probably have a few that I could recommend, but I'd need to go back through what I would say is my Rolodex, which all of the young people listening are like, what is that? But I started working when I actually had a Rolodex. This is before you saved everybody's contacts in your cell phone. You physically got people's cards, and that's what I did. So I actually started in nonprofit fundraising. I graduated from college on Saturday and I went to work on Monday. And I was very, very lucky to have a job. It's kind of crazy. And I didn't really know what I was getting into. I knew I wanted to work for a nonprofit. I had gone to school and I really thought I was going to be doing um, youth services. Like, I really thought that I would be doing like the actual work with the youth
Like
and
counseling?
not counseling, but running, after school programs, running, I thought that's the piece that I was going to do. Summer camps, things like that. And I had done a lot of event planning in college. So I went to Texas A&M, and one of the things that I did back then, this is a bajillion years ago, is that I was the election commissioner over all of student body elections. So this is back in the late 90s, early aughts. And 10,000 students voted during our elections. They're actually a really huge deal down at A&M. And for some reason, because I like managed this big committee and could oversee all these moving parts, um, I was hired to do event-based fundraising, and that's what I started out with. And I quickly learned that the event piece, the details, the picking things out, the all of that was not where I shined. It was not something I enjoyed. It wasn't something I loved to do. But what I really loved to do was work with donors and get people to raise money for us. And so I climbed the ladder really quickly. And by the time I was 34, I was a chief development officer, and I was the number 2 person at an organization, great organization, and it just wasn't the right thing for me because by that point I was burnt out. I I just kind of kept thinking there's something else out there, and as cliche as it was, I cried in my corner office every single day. And
Oh,
so I wound up leaving all of that. But my time in nonprofits, I think, was very well served because it gave me a really great understanding of a lot of things. But specifically, how do you work with people who are employees? How do you work with people who are volunteers? How do you have conversations with people specifically about money? Which now in real estate, I have conversations when people are loaning us money and lending us money. So, and I just got to do really cool things and meet really cool people. This morning, I was at breakfast after my husband and I worked out, and I ran into a former donor of mine who was the CEO of a Fortune 100 company. And I hadn't seen him in over a decade. And it was nice to just say hello and catch up. So I got to do really cool things with really cool people.
yeah, absolutely. That sounds like that's crazy. How did you even build all of those connections?
Yeah, I will say I worked for really big organizations that had a lot of those connections because of their names. So I didn't necessarily have to go out and meet new people.
Mm.
I just had to take people that were already working with the organization and bring them closer. So, there would be a donor who would give money, but we hadn't talked to them. We hadn't actually sat down with them. And I got to do cool things like take them to lunch, take them to breakfast, talk to them
Oh.
about their goals and their dreams, talk to them about why they gave to us. Um, Talk to them about, what did they think about when they thought about their philanthropic legacy and the impact that they wanted to make. And I worked mostly for women and girl organizations, so that was really exciting because the majority of the donors that I worked with were women, and they were super badass women. Um, they had big careers and they did really cool things. And it was fun because I was in my 20s and my early 30s. And, all these women were executives and they really looked at me as one of their mentees. So not only would I get to shine doing my work, but I also got to be around these powerful women. And I think that that was a big part of why I was sitting in my corner office every day crying, was because I just kept thinking there's something else out there. And one of the things that I know about nonprofits, like, they're amazing. Our country would not survive without nonprofits.
Mhm.
So many social services, so much health research, um, so much happens at nonprofits, right?
Yeah.
And so I always thought the way I was going to make an impact was working in a nonprofit. And I think that people who work in nonprofits absolutely make an impact. But I also began to see in my early 30s that if I could go make money, I could also have an impact on nonprofits.
Yes. Yeah.
I could have a board seat. I could um, work with other donors. I could make an impact in that way. And it's one of the reasons why I raise money primarily from women for women owned and women led real estate projects, is because I think that as women, we have really big, bold things to do in our life. And so much of the big things that we have to do require dollars, right?
Mhm.
And so for some people, for some women, it is having that philanthropic impact. And so if you want to support the best organizations, if you want to get involved, if you want to really make a difference, you got to have money to do it.
Yeah.
And so I I look back now and I see that my entire career has always been about making an impact in other people's lives. And every kind of level that I get to, I just think, how can I make more of an impact, more of an impact, more of an impact? And so, yeah, super grateful for that time because it informed the decisions that I make today.
Wow. Okay, that kind of blends into my next question because so I haven't worked for like a top really big level nonprofit or anything, but in my previous jobs, like I would work at like Starbucks or Baskin
Yeah,
Robbins or Olive Garden or even at my mom's boutique, and I felt like although they weren't um, careers necessarily for me or W-2s. I think just because they were part time, a lot of people would see them as, uh, I don't know about useless, but they wouldn't see them as the same status as a W-2. But the way that I've looked at those, um, I think because of the way that my parents have been, I mean, I know that they had a lot of jobs, and what I appreciate is that they would say that they kind of gleaned a lot of, each job had its own lessons that they learned from, and I would,
absolutely.
yeah, pretty much that. Like, what were some of the lessons that you learned from the nonprofit world, and what have you been able to take from that into, even now?
Yeah. First of all, I think no matter who you work for, you have opportunities to learn. I like, let's just take Starbucks, for example. Super powerful people walk into Starbucks every single day. Customer service jobs and people who can truly understand customer service that can get through the ups and downs of the stress. I mean,
Mhm.
think about people when they walk into Starbucks to get their coffee, they're typically in a hurry. They've got somewhere to be. They've got 97 other things on their mind. And so, working on the other side of the counter, if you can manage all of that chaos, if you can get through the day with some of your customers being amazing and wonderful to you and some of them being giant a-holes, then that's going to serve you well no matter what kind of job you have. So I think, first of all, we always have to look at the opportunity that we have right in front of us and say, what can I learn from this to go to the next level? And that's something that I didn't necessarily have when I was younger. I didn't think, I mean, I always wanted to be promoted. I was that person that I would get in, I would do a job, and I would sit down with my, manager, my leader, and I'd be like, okay, what do I need to do to get promoted?
Mhm.
And I think we can do that in any role. If you want to grow in your career, one, you can do that anytime. And I think the other big thing is, Jada, we as individuals have to take control of our career. No one will care about our career the way we do. No one. I don't even care if you are partnered with your spouse. Shane is my husband and we own a real estate business together. Now we do very different things and you know, I wouldn't say like we're every single day, but even what he does, I don't really care about it the way that I care about mine. And I would venture to guess that he would say the same thing. Now, some people are thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe she said that. Well, here's the truth about me. I will never sugarcoat anything. It's just not worth it to me. So, one of the things that I really learned from nonprofits is that when you have proximity to power, you can make things happen. Listen, I know that there are people that are going to hear that and then be like, "Ugh, that's just not fair." I didn't write the rules of life. I didn't. But for years and years, I thought, well, I'm going to change the rules. I'm going to change. And I am, especially in the women's space, especially when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to women being paid equal. There's certain things that I'm going to fight for until the day that I die. However, if you can understand and figure out the rules of life faster and just say, listen, it is what it is, you're going to get places farther.
Mm.
Like, work to change what you can, but also you have to be like, okay, it is what it is, right? So, a great example of that is people who make and have a lot of money have power.
Yep.
So, my thought process is cool. Then why am I not going to go out and get the same? Why would I not try and build wealth in my own way? Why would I not try? Because again, I care about changing the rules. So, when we look at nonprofits, when we look at politics, when we look at corporate America, right? Those that have the biggest pockets can get into places and can get seats at tables that other people can't get. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it's fair. I'm not saying I agree. But if I know that that's the rule of the game, then I'm going to go ahead and work to get there so that I can have a voice, so I can make change. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I learned from my nonprofit. I think the other thing that I learned that is really important, there are a lot of people who think that people with money are horrible humans.
Yep.
And I worked with a lot of wealthy people. I worked with a lot of people who um, were executives at Fortune 500 companies, who were entrepreneurs and had built wealth. I, of course, worked with people who had inheritances. There's a lot fewer of those people than the average bear assumes. And what I will say is that the people that I worked with had huge hearts. They really did understand to whom much is given, much is required. They required a lot of themselves. Um, and so it also taught me in a way to not look at people who are running big organizations, big companies, our cities, our state, and say, oh, they're evil people. I'm like, no, they're really good people. Like I've seen people battered in media who I've personally known and worked with. And I'm like, no, they're a really great person.
Wow.
So for me, I think as I'm trying to build my own wealth, as I am working with other women to build their wealth, I always put that in the back of my mind is like, yeah, no, some of the biggest names, especially in Dallas, that's where I am. And in Texas, I'm like, no, that guy's actually a really great guy. Like people don't know that he actually gave a seven-figure gift and it's anonymous, right? People don't know that she gave a seven-figure gift and it's anonymous. And so perception of how group think, right? Oh, people with money are evil. I think that's a Hollywood storyline that a lot of us need to let go of.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think it's interesting to see not the flip because I feel like that was a part of, if I watch movies from back in the 70s and such, it still has that kind of, you know, the villain is the rich wealthy man who's just trying to yeah, it's interesting to see how that's been propagated so much.
Yeah. And listen, there are really evil, wealthy people out there, but there are a lot of good poor people and there's a lot of evil poor people. Like I think again, the generalization, we are in a group of 13,000 people in this mentorship that we're in, right? I was talking with a friend of mine recently who's also in the group, and we were talking about some of the people you click with and some of the people you don't. Well, I do a lot of public speaking. And as I've grown in my public speaking, I will Google the number of people, especially when we were going through the thick of COVID and I was doing mostly virtual things. I'd be on a webinar with Capital One or, um, Ernst and Young, right? I was on these big companies and I was doing stuff, speaking to their women who work there. And it would say 1,500 people are on the Zoom today or 700 or whatever. And so I will Google to see how many people, like, what does that look like? Because we oftentimes cannot understand what that looks like. And so when I think about 13,000 people in this group that you and I happen to be in, I have Googled, like, what do 13,000 people look like? And when you see the number of people, you're like, well, of course, I'm not going to get along with everyone. Because if I was at a sporting event, at a basketball game, right, with 13,000 people, it's about the size of a, arena, maybe a hockey game. You're like, well, no kidding. I'm not going to like all of these people. Of course, some of these people are going to be not my people. Of course, some of these people I'm not going to jive with or share morals of values with or want to do business with. And yet we sometimes get into these group situations where it's like, oh, well, we're all going to like each other. Well, no, of course not. But that doesn't mean they're bad or evil people. It just means that, like, you and I might not always see eye to eye. And I forget why I'm going down this, but I think it's important for us to realize that we will always find our people. We will find the people we're supposed to work with. We'll find the people we're supposed to serve. We'll find the people that we're supposed to become friends with, etc. If we really just kind of put it out there, like, here's who I am. And the more authentic you are, the more authentic version you show up of yourself, the more you're going to attract the people who you're supposed to attract.
I want to chat about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yes. I this past week, I would say authentic is the word of the week.
Yeah.
Um it's been very interesting. It keeps coming up and so I with within the last week, I had gone on a short trip, and it was very impactful. It was more impactful than I thought it would be. But coming out of it, I really began to understand that I want to understand who I am more so that I can be more authentic and I can be more confident about who I am and what I'm doing and even just what I say.
Yeah.
And like even now I feel like I'm practicing all of that, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's definitely new and it's interesting. It's weird.
It's a journey. And I will say to you, go for the journey, go along for the ride. I I have no idea how old you are, but I could guess. Um, and I can
23.
guess. Okay, you're 23. I'm 43, right? So I have 20 years on you. I didn't know who the hell I was when I was 23. I didn't. You know what I wanted? I wanted to get promoted. I wanted my boyfriend to propose to me. I wanted a Louis Vuitton bag. And I think I wanted a new car. Like, I didn't know. And I wanted to go out with my friends and have a glass of wine. I don't drink anymore. I'm almost a year alcohol free. I think actually by the time today or tomorrow is 300 days, so I'm like very close to
Wow.
celebrating my soberversary, I guess is what they call it. I call it my alcohol free anniversary. And
Congratulations.
so every time you get to a new place though in your life, you learn something about yourself. And first of all, I think that having something like this, having this platform and understanding that you want to get on and ask people questions and you want to learn from them, like I think you're going to learn so much faster because you are thinking through like what could I ask and what do I care about and all of those things. And I think one of the ways that you got to know yourself better is you use assessments. Um, I'm an assessment junkie and I have been since I was your age. What my favorite one though is Clifton Strengths Finders. I've used it. Yes. I've used it over and over. When I was still in fundraising, I led big teams and all of my team, we would all take it and I would need to understand that. And then when I went on and became an executive coach, all of my coaching clients, I had all of them take it. I worked with multiple female leaders and helped them understand and had their teams take it. And now in real estate, the people I surround myself with, I always want to know. And part of the reason why I think an assessment is really good is because it's based on data and it's based on research and it gives you information about yourself that may be completely hidden to you. It may be something you just haven't figured out yet. And it's also tends to be something, at least for me personally, it tended to be something that I tried to make go away. So when I was in my 20s, I had not taken it. And I probably took it when I was 30, right? And so one of the things that it came up, it said was, I have woo, which if you don't know what woo is, it means winning others over.
I have that
And
too.
for you do. Oh, I love that. So for years, I was always like, I don't really care what other people say about me. I don't care what they think about me. And I was pushing that away so hard. I'm like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. And then I got this assessment and it's like, number one, winning others over. And I mean, dropped a big ol' F bomb that day. And I was like, oh my gosh, the one thing I'm trying not to be, I am. And started to look at it and say, okay, well, if I am good at this, if I am naturally talented in it, what does that actually mean? And what I realized by digging into the research around it, by reading all of the, insight guides that comes with is it's not necessarily about getting other people to like me, but it is about I can break the ice really quickly. It is about in a group, I can welcome people. It is about I can really quickly find something in common. Like I'm always constantly looking for something in common with other people. And I bring it up and I'm like, oh, me too. I mean, before we got on this conversation, we were talking about nonprofits, right? And so what I realized was it's not about getting them to like me, it's that I have this gift that other people don't. I can walk into a room and have 8 people who are all standing in the corner, and I can pull everyone together and get them talking, and I can get them connecting to me, and I can get them on board with my ideas. And I started realizing this is a freaking superpower. Now, what I can't do is be super methodical and figure out, okay, steps one, I can do step one in a plan and step seven. I can't figure out steps 2 through 6 or 8 through 100. Like I can't do that. I am not linear. I'm not a linear thinker. I can't. So I have to partner with those people. I have to surround myself with those people.
Mhm.
But when you use these kinds of tools, you're able to really get down to the nitty gritty and be like, oh, that is me. And when you turn it on its head and you say, okay, that's not something about myself I don't want to like. That's something that I want to cultivate and I want to make better. And oh, I didn't realize other people didn't do that. I had no idea. And so the earlier you can do those kinds of things, I'm a big personal development junkie. I've had coach after coach after coach. I've been through therapy. I read the books. I do all the things. And part of it is because now at 43, I truly believe that I am the most authentic version of myself. And part of that also comes in being alcohol free because I can no longer hide behind a cocktail or a drink or a bottle of wine. Like I just can't. Um, I used to think, oh gosh, I'm really bold and I'm really, um, what's the word I would use? My friends would be like, she just, again, doesn't sugarcoat it. Like I'm blunt. People think I'm really blunt. And some people think that's not good. And that's okay. Um, I always thought, oh, I'm just blunt because I've had a glass of wine or three.
Ah.
Well, no, that's just me. That is totally me, and I have figured it out, but now I don't hide behind things. Like,
Mhm.
if I'm mad, I have to feel the feelings of mad. I can't just be like, "Well, I'm gonna go home and have 3 glasses of wine and then forget about it and not be
Yeah.
mad," because that doesn't exist for me anymore. I really have to work through things. Um, and so being authentic is about spending time with yourself, and it's also about the way we talk to ourselves. We as women, listen, it's not even our fault. It's not. Uh, It's not our fault that from a very young age, we have had messages coming at us that are, you're not smart enough, you're not thin enough, you're not blonde enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough, you don't drive this car, you don't give the right blowjob, you don't have the right career, you don't, right? Like all of the messages, right? For me, when I was your age, it was on magazine covers. Now I think social media. It like blows my mind. You probably look at something on social media and the messages you have received for years have been like, this is what a woman's body looks like. And then you realize she doesn't look anything like that. And so what happens is we think that we're doing it wrong
Mhm.
because what has been presented to us from all of these brands and influencers and all of this stuff is that we're not doing it right. Jada, you and yourself are not right. So you can't be the authentic version of yourself because, okay, well, you have dark hair, but you're not tan enough. So you don't look enough like the Kardashians. Oh, and, your eyebrows are great, but they could be better. And, do you have the right, I don't know, like, I mean, I have a Stanley Cup and girls are getting beat up about this, about not having one. Right. So we just have all these messages coming at us that are like, don't be the authentic you.
Yeah.
And part of it is to be able to say, I'm turning off the content. I'm turning off. I am making sure that what I put into me is good. I'm putting into me things. I'm surrounding myself with people who, like, listen, if you are young and you look around your group of circle, your people you hang out with, and
Mhm.
you got 10 complainers in the group and you're not a complainer, you need a new group.
Yeah.
Complainers will take you down faster than anything. The naysayers will take you down faster than anything. And the words we speak to ourselves are really important. I actually have, just sitting here next to me, this I have this framed, and if you don't mind, I'm going to just read it for a second. And this
Go
is
ahead.
what I did this at a personal development conference, and it says, I, Caytie Langford, am worthy, bold, confident, authentic, and prosperous. I am a leader, a manifester, a motivator, a wife, a business owner, a friend, and a speaker. Through my speaking, I inspire others to believe in their greatness and I manifest my dreams. I am more than a conqueror and I prove it every single day. And I read this to myself every day. And when I wrote some of these words, I didn't believe them. I was like, "Oh, who am I to say that?" But when you put things into your mind over and over, and that's the thing, we don't realize that we're putting negative things.
Yeah.
We don't realize when we scroll and we see a TikTok or a reel or a picture, we don't realize that the message is you're not good enough. Don't be authentic you. We're like, "Oh, they're just trying to sell us some lipstick or some fake eyelashes."
Yeah.
And so we have to be really careful about what do we say to ourselves and make sure that we can say good and positive things, and not just good and positive, but that we speak into ourselves who we want to be,
Hmm.
not even necessarily who we are. But, one of my goals is to speak in front of 10,000 people. It's a big goal. It's scary. I used to think I was a jerk for saying it out loud. And now I'm like, no, like this is a goal that I have. It's a dream that I have. So I'm going to speak that into, I'm not that person yet, but I'm growing into her. And that's a big part of how you become authentic. It's not easy. It's not, but it's doable. It can be done. And so you just have to be very mindful and you have to give yourself grace. And on days that you're not, you say, okay, well, I didn't do it that day. What, let's see, tomorrow, can I be better? And
Hmm.
you don't beat yourself up. You're like, all right, cool. You know?
How do you, sorry, quick thing to, or quick question about that. I know that I've been around people. I've been also in the personal development, like, wow, it's
Yeah.
an amazing space for a little bit now. And um, before that, and even during, I would be around people who weren't necessarily watching about what they think about and about what they say. They're kind of just going on autopilot. Um, like, let's say you live with somebody, or you live with family members, because there's a lot of family members
Yeah.
that how would you bring this up to them, or is it even something worth bringing up, or is it better to just hopefully have them understand what they're doing in the future, and then you just trying to separate yourself into a different environment?
Yeah. So I used to be the person that was like, I'm going to tell them they're doing it wrong. And I'm going to tell them. And what I've realized is you just have to do you, and the people around you sometimes will follow or they will fall off.
Okay.
So there are people, let's just take alcohol for a sec. This has been the biggest thing for me over the last year. Um, I decided I was going to stop drinking. Most of my friends drink. Most of what we do is we get together and we watch football on Sunday or Saturdays and Sundays, and in the summer we have pool parties, and on the weekends in the spring we'll go to crawfish boils or what have you. Like, we're typically doing things even when we go on vacation together, even though all my friends have kids, right? Like, we're very much doing we can do this and have a cocktail.
Mhm.
And so I decide I'm not going to do that. So I had some friends who were like, that's amazing. And when I would come over to their house, they would say, hey, I bought you some non alcoholic beer, Caytie, because they knew that they were going to have wine at dinner or whatever. Amazing. Love that. I had some friends who were like, wow, this is really interesting. When are you going to are you gonna start drinking again? And at first I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna see. And so then I had some friends who just thought I was crazy. They were like, okay, good luck with that. And so what happens is the people who were supporting me are still in my life. And the people who didn't know what to do with me, they either stopped inviting me places, I stopped inviting them places. We just fell off.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that they're bad people, and it's not to say that I'm right or they're wrong or anything like that. It's just that sometimes when we create space for something in our lives, right? So let's say personal development or real estate, or let's say you have a friend who's going all in their career, right? Like, it doesn't matter what that thing is. When you create space for it, you automatically are deciding to say no to other things.
Yeah.
And when you decide to say no to other things, sometimes people will go away.
Mm.
And family is tough. I have very complicated relationships with two men who were supposedly my fathers. One is my biological father, and two is the man who raised me, who adopted me. And adopted me later in life. Like, he married my mom and
Oh,
name change kind of thing. Not like, yeah. Um, and so I will tell you what some people won't. I am totally fine cutting family members out. I had to do it because that was the only way that I was going to stay sane. And I had therapists backing me up. And I'm the first one, actually, my first therapist when I was your age. She was like, yeah, this is a really bad relationship and you need to put a boundary and cut them off. And so maybe it's not cutting people off. Maybe some people are like, oh, I could never do that. And I understand that. But it doesn't mean that you can't put space between them.
mhm.
Part of being an adult, even a young adult, is saying, like, yeah, especially if they're not, like, it is different if people are still paying some of your bills. So then that's a different relationship. And you have to understand that for some people, purse strings come with attachments.
Mhm.
But if they're not paying for your stuff and they invite you to dinner, you can be like, thank you, but no, can't do it that day. Thank you so much for the invitation next time.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of people out there that'll be like, you can't say no to your family. The hell you can't. Because some of it is about saving your sanity. It is about you being the healthy version of yourself. It's about, and maybe you can't say no, but maybe you can limit yourself. Maybe you could be like, great, I will go to dinner with you for 1 hour. Oh, and if they want to talk about something that is an off boundary, you simply say, thank you so much. I don't want to discuss that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, setting boundaries with people is a big thing. And so it doesn't matter if it's a friend, if it's a family member, if it's a significant other. And if these people are supposed to stay in your life, they will. And if they're not, they'll fall off.
Thank you. Good
Yeah.
advice.
And I will also say this. I don't know if you've heard this. When I was your age, I had never heard this. I didn't hear this probably until I was almost like 30. People come into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Uh,
Season, reason, or a lifetime. I always thought people would come into my life for a lifetime. And what's really interesting is that as you go through life and people come into it and people leave, is that it's real weird when you're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought that was a lifetime person," and then they're not, right? That was a season you were in. It was a period of time you were going through something, good or bad, right? It doesn't and that's the other thing. It also took me a long time to realize that some people fall out of your life, and it's not because you did anything wrong, and it's not because you're a bad person, and it's not because they did anything wrong or they're a bad person. It simply is that time just changed. You're a different human, they're a different human. We are all ever expanding, ever growing human beings. And so sometimes people, they have to go and find their new person. You have to go and find your new person. And when you allow that happen, it's beautiful to see who next can come into your life, whose life you can next go into to impact. And if we hold on to every single relationship, even if it's not the right thing anymore, you never get to experience the next amazing thing or the next lesson that you have to have. And so that's another huge part of just accepting that even there are going to be some people you're like, oh, that's a lifetime person. And then you realize, like, oh, that was just a reason. They had to teach me such and such, or I had to learn this such and such about myself, or right. And so that's okay.
Wow. This is really interesting. I Everything that we've spoken about so far, I've been thinking about within the last week, with what I had said earlier, with
I love
even when
that.
you were talking about your strengths with the woo. I have woo it's in my top
Yes.
5. I can't remember exactly what it is right now, but I I I always just saw it more as, or at least when I took the strengths test, I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. I like to win others over. I like to talk to people, and I really like when they like me. So it helps me try to build those relationships a little better, I
Yeah.
think. But for you to really say, what was it, like, trying to empathize with them, um that just, wow, that really clicked. I remember
Yeah.
growing up and I would have friends and they would be talking about something, whether it was good or bad in their eyes, and I would say, oh yeah, that happened to me too, or oh, something similar. And they took it in the sense of, oh, I'm stealing your spotlight a little bit,
Sure.
or like, oh, look at me, when I knew that wasn't what I meant. So I've tried to dial it back or tried to,
Yeah.
like, adjust it. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah. Do you know what your other top 4 are?
I have it somewhere. Oh, my phone. I'm using
Okay.
I know it's woo, positivity,
Yeah.
harmony, I think achiever, and then I forgot the last one. Restorative?
Okay. Ooh, that's good. Restorative is one of the least common. So achiever is the most common. 43% of all the people who take it have achiever. And I think restorative is one of the very least common. So I also have woo and positivity. And it's funny because positivity can be seen as like your Pollyanna, which, yeah, you might not even know who that is. Um, so if somebody said you're Pollyanna, it means like everything's sunshine and rainbows and nothing bad
Ah,
ever happens. And it's not, that's not what it, that's not who you are, right? With the positivity strength. But the truth is, like, I do look for the positive. Um, I'll give you a really good example. So the last 6 months, we've been having a custom RV built. We were going to leave Dallas and go on a 6-month road trip. My husband and I are both born and raised in Dallas. He owned a construction company until the end of 2022. And we've always been here. Like, we literally live less than 5 miles from the hospitals we were born at. And so we're like, okay, we're going to do this. So we've gone through all this stuff. I mean, like, I picked out everything in this freaking RV, like the paint color, the cabinets, the countertops. I upgraded the countertops, like the whole thing, right? And just about 4 days ago, we found out some new information that we didn't have, and we had to back out of it and say, this is not the right thing for us. Now, this has been 6 months of planning. I mean, for Christmas, my mom got me like RV for Dummies books. Like we have put a lot of time and energy into this. We have been doing all this planning, all this work, and it fell apart. And we have movers coming to pack our place tomorrow. And we are moving out of our place on Saturday. Well, excuse me, y'all don't know what day it is. So in 2 days we're moving out of our place. We've had less than 8 days to figure this out. And there are a lot of people who would be like in the corner crying, "Oh my god, this is so bad. This is so awful." For me, positivity, I'm like, "Okay, well, what does that mean? What can be the next adventure? Like, it's not this, but what's the next thing?" And sometimes people are like, "Don't you ever?" And I get mad and all that stuff. So it's not like I don't, but I like to see life on the bright side.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure with your woo and harmony, harmony is all about making sure people are all good in
Yeah.
groups, right? And you can probably walk into a room, and if you feel tension, you probably turn on that woo, you turn on that positivity, you turn on that harmony, and you are working to make things happen in the room, to make people feel comfortable, to get whatever's going, get it done. Like you're working really hard to do that. Here's the thing, that's such a gift. Some people can look at you and be like, "Oh my gosh, Jada, she's like gonna try and make us all feel good." But the reality is there are certain times of crisis, times of when stress is really, really high, right? Again, going back to the Starbucks days, when you've got 10,000 people walking in the door and everybody wants something different and everybody wants different kind of milk and the machine is breaking and somebody didn't come to work today and all the things, right? All the things. You can stand back and go, "Okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to do this, we're going to do that." You can kind of look at things and say like, "Let's get everybody going." You can still be nice to your customers. You can still do all of those things. And that's what's cool about your gifts.
Mm.
These are the cool things. But again, if you hadn't taken this assessment, you wouldn't have known this.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
wouldn't have been able to put, those words to what you do really well or where you try. Um, so to me, that's really exciting. And then, when you go into a group setting, you know, you can bring these gifts with you and you can say, "Hey, I have harmony." And one of the things that I'm looking at is when we're in a stressful situation, I'm the person that can bring calm to the chaos. I'm the person that can get everyone talking again and everyone on the same page again. A lot of people can't do that.
Mm.
That's freaking superpower right there. Okay. And that's how we have to start looking at ourselves as the things that we bring to life, those things that make us unique and different, that not everyone can do that.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
I forgot what the question was, but
No, I
yeah,
do
I
too.
I love that it just clicked again. A lot of things are just this is like a coaching call.
Yeah.
It's just recorded.
Well,
It's amazing.
as my husband says, I can stop coaching, but you can't take the coach out of me for sure.
That it's amazing that it's called the Clifton Strength Test because like you, I there when I saw that, I thought, "Oh my gosh, one that fits me so well." As soon as I read the results, like that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, again, with the woo, I knew that I had wanted to be I was very empathetic with people, and it didn't seem like a lot of people appreciated it, so I didn't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing, but it's inherent in me, and whether I like it or not, it's a strength, and I think that that's really great for people to take this test. I keep telling people to take this test
Oh,
now because yeah, exactly. They can have that shift where it's like, "Oh, this is me, so I can't really change it. And it's a strength. Okay, let me see how I can view it in a different way in a strength so that I can actually present it better."
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, 2 of mine are things that a lot of people get scared about. So one is called activator. The best way to describe it is ready, fire, aim. I move real fast. I have an idea. I've already started executing within 24 hours. That scares a lot of people because a lot of people are thinkers and they want to sit back and they want to analyze and they want to do all this stuff. Even my husband, he's like, "Oh my God, you just move so fast." But I'm the person that if you tell an idea to, I'm not gonna let you sit very long. I'm be like, "Great. Like, come on, Jada, let's go." Like, "Okay, who do you need to know? Who do we need to introduce you to? What do we need to do?" Right? I'm
Mhm.
constantly thinking that so we can get you off of the starting blocks and into the race.
Yep.
But it scares people. And then the other one is maximizer, which is all about um, taking something that's average or good and making it greater.
Mhm.
And so I walk into things. I was on a call with these ladies who want me to raise some capital for their project. And they're amazing. 4 women, very diverse group of women, super freaking smart. They're gonna do multifamily. They have already like 500 doors between the 4 of them. So they're not newbies in this. And they show me their website and they're all like, "Yeah, yeah, looks good. Oh my gosh, we're so great." And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not great. Like and I said to them, I said out loud, I go, "This looks like 4 white dudes could put this together." Nothing against 4 white dudes, but you are 4 diverse women. You are women of different ethnicities, colors, socioeconomics. Like you 4 bring such different things. And this looks so generic and so boring. And it doesn't tell your story and it doesn't tell why you're doing this. And like this isn't without saying like this isn't acceptable. I'm like, this no, like we've like it's okay, but like let's take it to the next level. Like let's and when I kind of broke that to them and I said it just like that, I'm like, it looks like 4 white dudes. Like, what are we doing? Where's this? Where's that? Where's the story of how the 4 of you came together? Where's the story of your backgrounds? Where's the and they were like, oh, yeah. And so sometimes people hate that because I'm always pushing to be like, okay, Jada, like this is great, but like, how are we going to grow this podcast? How are we going to make it better? How are we going to get more audience?
Yep.
Whatever your goals are, right? Whatever it aligns with. I'm constantly thinking, okay, what about this? What about this? What about this? And sometimes that irritates people because they want a cookie for doing the work. They want a pat on the back. And I'll give you that, but I'm not going to give you that for average. Like
Yeah.
all of us in my mind, like I don't care what kind of grades you got in school. If you are on this planet in this moment at this point of life, in this point of history, there is a reason. There is something that you are bringing to the world. And status quo is not okay. Status quo is not enough. We've got to do more than that because you are the only you that will ever exist, ever. And that can't be a small thing. Like just the data and the numbers about why you exist right now and everything that had to line up to get you here in this moment, to me, that means that you're destined for greatness. So let's not be status quo. Let's be freaking great. Like, let's
Mhm.
go after that, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm not saying everybody has to have greatness in their career. No, no, like that's not even success for some people. They're like, I don't care about my career. Some greatness is I want to be the best mom that I can be. I want to be the best volunteer. I want to go take on, city government. I want to make change in things. I want to be a philanthropist. Like whatever it is, I want to be the best chef. I want to be whoever you are, like let's not sat let's not settle for average.
Mhm.
Average isn't okay anymore. Average is boring. Average is a waste. You get to do this one time,
Yep.
one freaking time. Go out with glory and a blaze and set the world on fire and be who you were created to be and use all of those things that are put into the small little package that is you for greatness. Like that's what it's all about.
Ah, I'm so. Oh my gosh. Ah, this is so great. I want to talk to you forever. This is amazing.
Same. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my living room, all the stuff I have to pack. I'm like, I don't want to pack. I just want to keep talking. But
Oh goodness. Well, I hope I can have you on again. I
yeah.
oh my gosh, this is so much more than I would have
Well,
imagined.
what's crazy is you said the word confidence and we didn't even talk about that. And I speak about confidence all the time. And that's actually what I gave my TEDx talk about. So we got to come back and talk specifically about confidence, how
Yes.
we build it, what happens when we lose it, how to get it back. Because that's something that again stops a lot of us is
Mhm.
confidence. So I am on a mission to help every single person build confidence. So we'll do that.
Okay, let's do it. Once you're moved in and once you're settled so that we
Yes.
don't have to.
Oh, lady, moved in. Did I not even tell you? We are like we're gonna be nomads for a while. We're leaving Dallas. We're going to Austin. We have a place to stay next week. I'm looking for a midterm rental for like 30 to 60 days. We're going to be in Austin for a while. We might go check out North Carolina, South Carolina. Well, I have a friend in
Oh my god.
Kansas City, who just said, come see me. We're thinking about Arizona. So I don't even know. We're going to take a couple months and we're going to explore and then we may come back to Dallas. I mean, I would say the likelihood is high that we come back to Dallas. But yeah, we're gonna go see what else is out there.
Wow, congratulations. I hope it
Yeah.
is a very wonderful journey.
Yeah, but I'm taking my podcast mic with me so I can jump on anywhere.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm going to let you continue packing and hopefully you can get that done soon. But thank you. Okay, so like I had mentioned in the I think right before we started, my mom has she watches a lot of these and I believe she shares them and I believe that because I'm in a lot of group chats and she shares them in the group chat. So if I'm there, I know that she's doing it. And there's been so much just in this 57 minutes that I know a ton of other people are going to get value from. So thank you so, so much, Caytie. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jada. Thanks for having me. It's been so fun. And it's been exciting to like even teach you a couple of things like season, reason, lifetime. Like I thought everyone knew that. And then I remembered like, no, I didn't know that back when I was, in your shoes.
Mm.
And when I said that, it was like a light bulb went off. So it's been super fun to me because it's the opportunity for me to just continue to grow. And my purpose in life is to inspire, motivate, and impact the lives of women. And so anytime I can do that, it feels like a super successful day.
Oh, yeah. I think you can definitely call today a successful day. There have been so many things like what you said again, the reason, a season, or a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And that's something that I've been trying to come to terms with again recently. Or even like last year, I had gotten out of a relationship, and it's just so weird to not be able to talk to that person anymore because
Yeah.
it was so intimate, but not in just a romantic way, just in a relationship, like a person to
Yeah.
person kind of way. And I was not ready to not have that anymore and just know that, okay, they don't want to talk. That's definitely reasonable. But wow, okay, like that's it. That's the end.
Yeah. It's listen, I saw a woman that I was very, very, very close friends with. We stopped speaking in might have been 2020 or 2021. I honestly don't remember because it was so hard and hurtful that I just kind of blocked it out. And I saw her recently at a wedding and had not spoken to her. Like we got into a fight and we literally did not say it. It was very immature on both sides. We didn't say anything. And I'm sure on both ends, it was like, wow, was our friendship not as much as we thought it was going to be because we could just walk away so easily and so quickly. And um, you saw her at this wedding and wound up sitting next to her and talking to her and taking pictures. And I have other friends texting, like, what is going on? I thought, y'all weren't friends anymore. And it's hard. It is hard because there are some relationships that are going to be like that. With whether it's significant other or just a friend. And at the same time, I'm just a big believer that, again, when you take something out, when you create a vacuum in your life, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a career, whether it be, how you spend your time, more than likely something good is coming into your life. But you can't always see that. You just see the black hole and you're like, well, this feels awful. And where are they? And why can't I talk to them? And did I not mean as much? And all the things, right, that we tell ourselves. I would also say this, that when we lose people, sometimes during that experience, those are the moments where we really can get to know ourselves better to show up in an even more authentic way.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we feel not feel, we fill our time with a relationship with that person. And when that's gone, we have to spend time with ourselves. And so then it's like I'm certain you've learned so much about yourself.
Yeah.
Hasn't been easy. I'm sure it's not been so great some nights, some days, tears maybe, or, being mad or whatever, right? Or maybe it's been easy. Maybe you've been happy and on cloud nine, but you still have the opportunity to get to know, who are you? What do you want in life? Who do you want to surround yourself with? And taking those moments to kind of just keep learning about yourself. And I will say, one of the things I thought when I was your age was like, oh, I'm done with school. I have a career. Like, that'll be it. Like, I've learned all the things. You never stop learning. Never do. You just never do. You don't stop learning other things about life, about humans, about yourself, about, I'm doing real estate. Like, what? You told me that
Yeah.
20 years ago, I'd be like, you're out of your friggin' mind. Like, I don't even know what that means. So yeah, you just never know what's coming down the pipeline for you.
Yeah. And then that goes into a whole other thing where I think, like, I don't agree with the public education system, because of a lot of different reasons. One of them being, I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on, okay, this is public education. Okay, now you're done. Now it's career time. It's like done with education. And no, I think that I think having the, was it 8 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. that time, it's kind of it just restricts people and it restricts their thinking into thinking, okay, that's a learning time, and then that's it. That's a work
Oh
time.
yeah.
That's it. It's like, no,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we could have a whole conversation about
no.
education, right? Like, I feel like we could pick 10 topics and just go for it. And next time I want to hear, more of your thoughts, because what's cool and exciting is, like, you're at the place where I'm sure you have very strong feelings about a lot of things, and it'll be real interesting to see how those develop and change. And yet I will say, like, when I look back at who I was at 23 and now who I am today, I'm just more convicted even in the things that I was convicted about then. It's just different and it's changed. And again, like when I was your age, I was like, I'm just going to change everything. And again, till the day I die, I'm going to work to do it. That's the other thing. I don't really give a flying if I piss anybody off. When I was your age, I was like, I don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want to say what my feelings are around, especially around women and women's rights and stuff. Now I'm like, I do not care. I am done being silent. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. And if you don't like me, guess what? It's okay. People don't like tacos. I love a taco. And if tacos can't please everyone, I sure as can't. I can't do it, Like, also, who are these people who don't like tacos?
I don't know.
Weirdos.
Oh man, well, it's been just such a pleasure talking to you and going off on these tangents. I love them so much. I
I love
really
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jada. I appreciate the conversation.
As do I. I'm looking forward to when we can chat again. In the meantime, you have a wonderful day. And yeah, thank you so much. Oh, and then shameless self plug. Where can people find you or what do you have
Yeah.
coming?
So the easiest way you can find me is through my podcast called Not Made to Be Subtle, because I was not made to be subtle and neither were you. Or on any of the social medias, Caytie Langford. Caytie is spelled really weird, so you can get those on video. But yeah, Caytie Langford is where you'll find me, or Not Made to Be Subtle.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful evening then.
Thanks. You too.
Bye now.